Everyone is asking, what's new in One UI 8.5, but almost nobody is asking the more important question, what finally feels right? Because this update isn't loud, flashy, or dramatic, it's quiet, subtle, and that's exactly why it might be the most important One UI update in years. Welcome back to Tech Insights. And today we're breaking down One UI 8.5 from a perspective most reviews completely miss. This is not about big headline features or fancy animations you'll show your friends once and forget. This is about daily usability, the kind of experience that slowly shapes how you feel about your phone after weeks of real use. One UI 8.5 doesn't try to impress you in the first 5 minutes. Instead, it reveals itself gradually, fixing the small frustrations that made previous versions feel just a little off. And once you notice these changes, it's hard to go back. The biggest shift in One UI 8.5 is rhythm. Everything feels more evenly timed, swipes don't feel rushed, transitions don't feel delayed, and gestures finally move at a pace that matches your hand. This matters more than people realize, because inconsistency is what makes a phone feel laggy even when it's technically fast. In One UI 8.5, the system feels predictable, and that predictability creates comfort. You stop thinking about the interface, and that's exactly the point. The home screen experience feels calmer and more disciplined, moving between pages. Opening folders and returning home feels more stable than before. Visual noise has been reduced, and those tiny micro stutters that break immersion are far less common. You might not notice it immediately, but after long scrolling sessions or heavy daily use, the interface feels less tiring on your eyes and your brain. This is One UI growing up. Notifications and quick settings are another area where maturity shows. Pulling down the shade feels more consistent every single time. Light mode and dark mode transitions are smoother and more natural. Without that abrupt snapping effect, the system adapts instead of reacting. And that subtle polish makes interactions feel intentional rather than mechanical. It's not exciting, but it's satisfying. Widgets finally feel like true system components instead of decorative extras. Expanding, collapsing, and interacting with them is smoother, and layouts adapt more intelligently in the background. The UI feels layered and modern without overwhelming you. This is especially noticeable on larger displays, where spacing and movement feel more balanced than before. Multitasking is where One UI 8.5 quietly proves its value. Apps stay active longer, reload less aggressively, and switching between them feels less stressful for the system. You can bounce between social apps, browsers, and media without constantly losing your place. This update doesn't necessarily make your phone faster on paper. It makes it less annoying in real life, and that's a win. Customization has always been One UI's identity, but in 8.5 it finally feels safer. You can tweak layouts, folders, and system elements without instantly sacrificing smoothness. In older versions, heavy customization often came with visual penalties. Now the system tolerates user freedom better, maintaining stability even when you push it a little. This balance between control and performance is something users have wanted for years. Even the smallest actions feel more refined. Opening and closing apps, launching the camera, switching tasks, and returning home all feel more controlled and deliberate. These are actions you repeat dozens of times every day, and reducing friction in each one adds up in a big way. One UI 8.5 doesn't shout about these improvements, but your hands notice them. Of course, it's not perfect. You can still run into stutters, especially with extreme customization or rapid switching between heavy apps. One UI 8.5 doesn't magically eliminate every flaw, but the difference is consistency. Compared to previous versions, the experience is far more reliable, and reliability is what builds trust in a daily use device. What truly sets One UI 8.5 apart is how invisible it becomes. The less you notice your interface, the better it's doing its job. This update fades into the background and lets you focus on what actually matters: your content, your apps, your work, and your entertainment. That's not a lack of ambition. That's confidence. With One UI 8.5, Samsung feels like it stepped back, observed real user behavior, and fixed the basics instead of chasing trends. If this direction continues, future updates could finally deliver the perfect balance between deep customization and smooth everyday performance. So if you're expecting fireworks, One UI 8.5 might disappoint you, but if you want a calmer, more reliable, and more polished smartphone experience, this update quietly delivers, and sometimes that's exactly what modern smartphones need.